Welcome everyone to Family Tech Talk. My name is Ron Russick. I'm a CISSP and Technical Account Manager with Trend Micro. I work in the Tipping Point division, and I've been doing cybersecurity and IT support for over 30 years. My co-host tonight is also Michael Drager, and I will let you mention your background.
Hey, my name is Michael Drager. I am also a CISSP. I work for the Trend Micro Red Team, which is we kind of emulate threat actors for our customers. I've been around with Trend for 10 plus years, and in this industry longer than I can count.
Yeah. Some of us get here and Trend is so nice to work for. We just stay here, and it's because of events like this where we have this Family Tech Talk, which comes to you free, sponsored by PTO today and underwritten by Trend Micro as well. Both of us have delivered this presentation many times. Before COVID, we did it in person in schools or in PTO meetings. So you've got some very experienced and talented folks here. Before we begin, if you need it in Spanish, I don't think we have a request for it tonight. And because you're a small group, we're not going to worry about the sign-in page, because your coordinator will get a video of this presentation after we're done and after it's edited and blessed. But if you do have questions, please submit your questions at any time using the QA option. And as a bonus, at the end of tonight's presentation, when you disconnect, you'll be presented with a link to a survey. That survey will not be seen by either of us, but it will go to Lynette Owens, I think, who runs this program, and lets us know how we're doing. If you learned anything, if it was too complicated, if it was not complicated enough, if I was too boring, talked too fast, whatever. The bonus is if you do complete a survey, you'll be entered to win five people will win a license pack for Trend Micro Maximum Security for home use, and it has 5 licenses in it. So we're giving away tonight 25 free licenses for the Trend Micro home product, which is a pretty good deal. I use it. Michael probably uses it on his home stuff as well.
Yes, I do.
So we're very familiar with it. But now that you know about us, what about you? To get us started, we're going to ask you a question. How old is your oldest child? This will help me frame a little bit of the presentation tonight to figure out how to gear it towards you if you have tweens, younger ones, which age groups.
I'm going to click and build out that slide real quick. I don't think
Sure.
it built out.
Oh.
There we go.
There we go. But I see most of you have already answered.
Yes.
It's pretty well spread out. With the majority being 6 through 10, but we've got some 11 through 14s and 15s. Just changed. So pretty even spread. Thank you all for voting. We got 100% participation. I love to see that.
Nice.
So we have a very good mix tonight. We'll touch on subjects that will kind of meet for all of these. So there we go. So next question. What are you most interested in learning? How to manage screen time? How do you help kids stick to age-appropriate content? Dealing with online bullying? Ideas for positive use? Or not sure, you're just here to learn something? Tell me something new.
Yeah. Give it another few minutes here. There. All right.
So it looks like half of you need help helping kids stick age appropriate content. And this is certainly one of the most challenging things. And we will discuss some of this online. The other problem is, of course, we have multiple ages. So how do we really restrict the younger ones and start to ease restrictions for the older ones? All of that is kind of the $1,000,000 question that we don't exactly have answers to, but we hope tonight we can share with you methods or skills or things that you can do to help you determine or give you tools to allow you to do this more easily. So a lot has changed in the last 2 years. Certainly, of course, with the COVID and everything else happening, things have changed a lot, but at the same time, things really haven't. Our children still need our guidance. The risks on the internet are still there, if not even more. And there are still benefits of being on the internet. Of course, we all learned we can work from home in a lot of cases. Children can learn from home in a lot of cases. What we're talking about mostly tonight is what we call good digital citizenship, and that is still a priority regardless of the situation. We know most states now have returned to in-person schooling. Maybe not yours, but it may be coming. So what do we mean by good digital citizenship? We're talking about safety and security, digital literacy. It would help if I can talk tonight. Ethics and community. And we're striving towards mastery of being a good digital citizen. Over the years that we've been presenting this program, we've kind of divided this into four topics. Be online, be safe, be kind, and be savvy. What does that mean? Each one's broken down. Be online is setting up the environment for production, for good work, establishing rules, setting the example. That means do not do as I say and not as I do. If you want your kids to put their phones down at the table, you shouldn't be on yours either. Another one is be safe. We're going to talk about the privacy, information, and everything, and how to be safe with yourself. Under be kind, we're talking about being kind to others and to yourself. And be savvy. Let's use some good habits and good uses. Setting up the environment is myself and Michael's real specialty. So this is going to be the largest chapter, and that's why we kind of put it first. The reason we need to set up our environment is for our physical health. So if you remember talking about physical health at your workplace, you may have had, we certainly did back in the day before COVID, some companies had a nurse or environmental specialist on hand that could come by and help you set up your desk. Set it up so that your arms go straight out onto the desk and the keyboard, that you're sitting upright in your chair, that your feet are planted on the floor, so the desk moves up and down to adjust to your seat and your height, rather than you having to compensate with your feet dangling off your chair. And that the monitor is pretty much straight ahead of you and your nose is equal to like the middle of the monitor. So one of the things that we learned a few years ago was the lighting and the 30-30-30 rule. What this means is about every 30 minutes, you need to look at away from your monitor, something 30 feet away for 30 seconds. I happened to buy me a smartwatch myself, and sure enough, every 30 minutes or so, if I'm sitting there, it pops up and reminds me, how about a walk or time to get up and move around? The problem is, especially as you get older, your eyes tend to get stuck. So if you're stuck looking at something 3 feet in front of your nose for hours on end, you'll get up and look across the room and you won't be able to see anything because your eyes are stuck on close focus. So by getting up every 30 minutes and looking at something 30 feet away for 30 seconds, your eyes relax and go back into that position. Something else is if you wear eyeglasses, some places offer blue light glasses, which actually has yellow tint, which absorbs blue lights because blue light makes our brain think it's daytime. If you stare at your monitor in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, it may make things worse because it tells your brain it's daytime outside because it sees blue light. All of these rules, of course, apply to our children. How many children are still to this day sitting at the dining room table or the breakfast table to do their schoolwork where the edge of the table is equal to their nose, not the monitor? Or how many tall kids are sitting there hunched over their laptop? So remember, the posture and seating is important so that we can stay comfortable and not stress. We have to take those breaks and those moments and get up and walk around. Also talking about the environment, these days, pretty much everybody has internet at home in one form or fashion or another. Most people probably get internet from their cable or telephone companies, or they have fiber right to their house. Most of us, of course, have internet on our phones too, but these days, a lot of people have a router in their own home. This is what enabled us really to work from home. But it comes with risks. So you have to limit access to your router. There's about 100 brands of routers. And if you did a Google search for your brand of router, there's about 1,000 pages publicly available on the internet that will tell you what the default password is. The first thing you need to do is change that password so nobody can get into your router and change the settings. If they can get into your router, they can pretty much do almost anything. So you've got to change your password. And that means encrypting the data on your router and your wireless so that other users are also required to use a password. In the old days, we had a program, an encryption program by the initials of WEP. That lasted for all about a year before people figured out how to crack into it. These days, the standard is WPA2. It's been around for quite a while and is relatively secure and difficult to crack. Can Michael crack it? Probably. There's also a WPA3 coming out soon. So change your default password and put passwords on your wireless so your neighbor can't steal it. What if you're in a densely populated area? Well, your neighbor in an apartment might be right through the wall. They may have better connection to your internet than you do. If you don't have a password on it, they may be using it more than you do. If they commit a crime on it, the police are going to come and knock on your door, not theirs. Put a password on your Wi-Fi. Something else you can do is separate the network. Back in the day, electronic manufacturers are a little funky. When we started with home networking and home modems, there were two colors. Most of them were blue, and they looked a little bit like the picture with two antennas out the back. This lasted for about 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. A little while later, all the modems and routers started turning white. About 4 or 5 years ago, the color of choice is black. If your router is new enough, it will probably be black, and it will have instructions on it for what's called a guest network. Your little wireless box has become quite sophisticated. You can have 2 networks running simultaneously on the same box. People on one network cannot see what's happening on the other network. The best configuration for this is that you and your children devices and computers should be on your primary named network. But you have a guest network. This is so when your children's friend come over, they can connect to the internet and everybody can play games at the same time. But you don't want them or their computer trying to hack into your network, so you put them on the guest network. They still can talk to the internet. They won't be able to talk to your children's device directly unless your child is on the guest network. But it protects visitors who you give a password to from getting onto your network at the same time. Even better use for this. You may have heard the saying of IoT, the Internet of Things. These days, if you go into the store, you can see refrigerators that are hooked to the internet. We have thermostats hooked to the internet. We have TVs hooked to the internet. We have game consoles hooked to the internet. We have clocks hooked to the internet. We have weather stations hooked to the internet. All of these things could be on your network. The problem is you don't control the security of any of these devices. Every device could be vulnerable to hacking by people from the outside and taking over the device. In a corporate environment, that means they could then cross possibly into the network and start infecting other machines. Well, at home, you have these 2 different networks. So another good use is to put your streaming and other devices on the guest network as well. That way, those devices have access to the internet, but they do not have access to your PC on the same network. They are electronically isolated. So put your Internet of Things devices on your guest network, away from your own computer. If you have a large property or it's made of metal or has wire in it, you may have trouble getting signals from one place to another. These days, for less than $100, you can get a Wi-Fi extender. This is a little piece of box that looks very much like the picture that you can quickly configure. If you buy the same brand of box that matches your router, it may talk to it automatically and set it up through the same software. I myself have a property of 5 different buildings and I have 3 repeaters. They are all the same brand as my primary wireless router, so I can use its software and say, yes, this repeater is part of the network, connect them all together. And after about 2 minutes, it's all connected. Now I have my internet in 5 different buildings and it's all the same names because I'm using Wi-Fi extenders. So the internet comes into the main house and I can get it in the barn, in the shop, and in the guest room and the guest kitchen, even though they're normally too far away. Another technique for use is staggering time. If you have a major Zoom meeting, you may not want all 4 of your kids playing games simultaneously at the same exact moment. Your network connection may be able to handle it, but it may not be able to. So you may need to stagger time and tell them they can only play their games between 7 and 9 when you're not on your Zoom meetings at work. That way, during the day, all the bandwidth is available for you to do your work and the children to do their schoolwork from home, and nobody's playing games or watching streaming TV sucking up all the bandwidth. So we really need to secure everything. That means we're going to use security software on all your devices. Every device should have some security software on it. I mentioned that the free copy of of Trend Micro Maximum Security, that's why I got confused, MS, has 5 licenses. It'll fit on 5 different things. In my case, I have a 5 less license pack for free because I work at Trend Micro. It covers my 2 personal computers, my phone, and my 2 personal tablets. There's 5 licenses right there, and that's just me. My family buys commercially available, the regular 10 CAC, because in my family, everybody has a phone and a computer and usually a tablet. So everything needs to have security. And this includes Macintosh, Mac OS, iOS, as well as Android. The only exception may be Chromebook because you can't install an application on Chromebook. Some of you may be a little more geeky and use Linux, but yes, you certainly need antivirus on there too, because there are certainly vulnerabilities on that platform as well. It's just not as big of a target. And when we're talking about your devices, we need to make sure that the firewalls are turned on. Any good security software will turn it on for you or possibly replace it with its own. The firewall prevents incoming connections from getting to your device that are unsolicited. A firewall allows you to make a request of the internet and the return response come in, but it doesn't allow somebody directly coming in. The purpose of getting your own wireless router is that same exact effect. The internet is full of attacks that are constantly hitting every address possible. I think I read a survey that said if you put a virgin, clean, fresh Windows, even Windows 10 machine directly on the internet, within 30 seconds, it could be hacked. It's that prevalent. Using your own router puts one layer of that firewall between you and the internet and prevents incoming requests from getting to your unprotected machines. Other security to do is, of course, use strong passwords. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What's a strong password? Not dictionary words. 20 years ago, a dictionary attack of 100,000 words out of the dictionary could take hours. It could also take weeks and months to decrypt every single one of those words out of a password database. These days, with GPUs and high power computers, we can reverse engineer encrypted passwords in seconds. Dictionary words are no longer good. You've got to have something that's not in the dictionary. Another way to do this is use multi-factor authentication. Even Google, Yahoo, Mail have multi-factor authentication. This is where you log in, maybe give it a password, and then it sends a token to your phone. Because when you registered for that site, you said, this is my email address, this is my password, and this is my phone. Well, now, even banks especially started this first. When you log in, it will send a message directly to your phone. You type in that security code, that random 6-digit number. It's not random to the computer. It knows what 6-digit number it sent to you and expects it. If it's wrong, you don't get in. There's also things you may have heard about. Norton and Nord have been really pushing, and ExpressVPN have been pushing their services of using a VPN. Most of us, when we started working from home, were exposed to VPN the first time. It's a virtual private network. It's software on your end device and software on a destination server that set up a secure communication between the two using encryption, which means nobody can see your data. When you're sitting in your Starbucks coffee shop having your double mocha latte, if you don't have a VPN, somebody sitting right next to you with the appropriate software may be able to see everything you're sending over the internet if it's not encrypted. If you use a VPN, everything you do is tunneled and encrypted in that VPN traffic, and all they see is garbage. What I found, though, is a lot of our sites that want to be extra secure also know who these VPN providers are, and they won't let you use a VPN because they think you may be trying to be anonymous and attack their site. So banks, Netflix, Sling, Google, and other providers, if you're using a VPN and try to connect to their services, may not connect because it knows you're on a VPN. So the VPN is kind of a double-edged sword because some of our providers don't want you using one. I'll also get into another reason for this later. So setting up the environment also means practicing good habits. Update, update, update. How many people actually update all the time, and how many people wait for their computer to say we need to reboot? It's a rhetorical question. You don't need to feel obligated to answer in the chat. Survey says most of you don't update. You just wait for the phone or the device to tell you it needs to restart. That's better than nothing. Years ago, Microsoft and Adobe started deciding, okay, the second Tuesday of every month is Patch Tuesday. So if you've noticed, the second Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of the month, your Windows machine will usually ask you to reboot. That's because it's downloaded updates in the background. Well, that's great because you're updating every 30 days. For your PC, that's usually normal. What about your phone? What about your tablet? How often does your TV update? And most importantly, do you update your router? One of the reasons you buy your own router to set up your internet at home is so that you can apply updates. Flaws in software are found every day, all day, 24/7. My particular company has a program called Zero Day Initiative, ZDI. They're the #1 provider of flaws in Microsoft. How do they find that? We actually pay hackers to provide bugs to us. We validate it. We write protection for it, and then inform Microsoft, hey, you have this flaw, you have 90 days to fix it before we tell everybody what it is. Same thing with Adobe, and they usually do fix it within 90 days. But there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the world that spend all day trying to break things and get in. You got to update, 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 including your router. That's why you don't use the cable modem. You don't know when or how often the cable company will update the software in their modem. Most of the experts say never. You may get that modem from Spectrum, and 5 years from now, when they tell you you need to upgrade, it's got the same software on it that it did the day it arrived. That's not very secure. Remember, I talked about strong passwords. Good, strong password, of course, capital, lowercase, letters, numbers, and punctuations. This makes it much more difficult to reverse engineer and figure out the hash. So one suggestion is to use phrases and change them often. Also, do not use the same password on every site. Both Google and Yahoo and Facebook have all been hacked. If somebody reverse engineers your password and figures it out, they also have your email address. They can now take over your email account. From there, they can take over anything that reports to the email account because you use the same password. So you need a system or a way to make multiple passwords. This is the funniest one I've ever seen. We've been using it for a while. Might need to buy more toilet paper soon, especially since a lockdown may be coming soon. Ha ha. MNTB MTPPS TPS. Now, somebody in chat said they work for an internet provider and they do updates regularly. You're the exception, not the rule. The bigger the provider, usually the less often that it works. But thank you for the comment. So there's a strong password. Back up and store safely. Oh, here's another one. 5 years ago, we had about 10 different online cloud backups. Now we're down to about 2 or 3. These are companies that say they back up your machine in the cloud and fully encrypt it. That's good, unless you forget your password. The way the security works is your password mathematically becomes part of the encryption key. The company you're paying to back up your data does not know what your password was. It's not stored on their servers. If you forget your password and your computer is lost or crashes, good luck. They're going to tell you, we don't have your password, your data is locked. Tough luck. Good and bad of cloud backup. But true story here. Some people say, yeah, I don't use cloud backup. I don't trust it. Neither do I. I use a local hard drive that I plug into the USB port. I then back up my data, take the drive out, and it's locked in the safe. Problem is, I got to remember to do it every week. I'm lucky if I do it every 6 months. On the other hand, my father, who's 85 and still works on his computer every day, also has a backup drive. He plugs it into his computer on Friday afternoon, starts the backup program, turns out the light, and walks away and locks the room. Great. Monday morning, he comes in, the backup's complete. Well, the problem is if somebody breaks in, they got his computer and his backup within arm's reach of the window. What good is that? What happens if there's a fire and the room burns down? What if there's a flood? What if the roof leaks? His backup's sitting there with his computer. Yeah, he's got a backup, but it's in the same physical environment. So backups and store safely, that means off-site or somewhere different. Okay, enough lecturing, at least on things you need to do. What about tools? There are lots of tools that you can purchase to monitor things online, age-appropriate content, and monitoring. These tools are available on, hey, modern routers. New routers between $100 and $200, black in color, most likely have a lot of these things built into the router. The game consoles are starting to have things. We can put programs on our phone. You can get apps from the app stores. And even some of the most popular applications have security settings built in now. Years ago, there wasn't a whole lot. So, what are some of these tools? One of them is iOS Screen Time. Screen Time allows you to configure your and your child's, if you all have Apple, phone and link them together. So you can set up family members, and that in turn allows you to then set restrictions on your children. Google Family Link from Google. The world is controlled by Google. Same thing for Android. There are things you can set up to filter apps, limit screen time, and track your child's location. This is from Google Family Link, so it's available on all your Android phones. YouTube, which is also controlled by Google, well, owned by Google, also allows you to set level of what content you can look at on YouTube. None of these tools are 100%. Criminals and vicious people are constantly trying to exploit vulnerabilities in the filtering and put inappropriate content out there for your child. Not 100%, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. TikTok, super huge for kids. That has a family pairing feature as well under the digital well-being. You can do family pairing and turn it on. And with you and your teen, set up the accounts, link them together so you know what they're doing. Now, why do I say teen? Because most of these sites, specifically in their terms and conditions, say you have to be 13 before you can use them. Because anybody under the age of 13 is not, quote, the age of consent to use electronic software on the network or on the internet. So again, you can link your family's settings together. Roblox, much more popular for young ones. It also supports performing settings and security settings in order to limit who can get a hold of your child, who can be friends, and can they spend your money? That's a big one. So the rule is suggested to only do friends or no one. That way, people who are trying to get in touch with their child can't through Roblox. Discord, another one. This is probably for your teens or tweens. Discord is a chat system, actually originated from China, and sends all data to China and local servers as well. A lot of gamers use this to discuss in groups while they're playing the games. Out of band chat kind of thing. Again, there are multiple settings for security and for direct messages. Friends are friends. Can they invite you and become part of your group, or anyone or no one? Also, a lot of these programs have tools to block. If your child, even younger one, finds something inappropriate, or you see something inappropriate that your child hopefully doesn't understand, you can block users quite often. And of course, if a user gets tons and tons and tons of blocks, the company may, not always, throw that user out, make them permanently banned or whatever. So use your block settings if anybody's making inappropriate comments. Xbox has family settings where we can again filter apps, limit screen time, and approve spending or friends requests. It sounds like a lot. So we have this free, you may want to take a picture of the screen, offering. Trend Micro, being a security software company, has written software to support digital parenting, the Trend Micro Family app. This is absolutely free, available at this website for Android and iOS. What this does is help you and your child actually make some of these settings in these programs, as well as provide some awareness, protection, and guidance. But it actually, I believe, has been told has the ability to make these changes for you on some particular applications. Again, tmfamily.care. So we talked about this earlier. We need to set the rules. What can your child access? When can they access it? How long, where, and with whom? We're not in the business to define this for you. I'm here to help you make this determination. What devices? When? How long? Where? Whom? Where was an interesting one. Long before this happened, my children are grown and out of the house. When they were tweens and early teens, the family gaming PC computer was in the family room. My wife and I could be sitting there 5 feet away watching TV while they were playing Minecraft. This is before it belonged to Microsoft. His friend could sit there next to him on his computer, also playing Minecraft. If anything inappropriate was going on, we could see it by glancing over their shoulder. Talk about influence. You know, your parent, you can look over your child's shoulder at any moment and see what they're doing. There's some easy peer pressure from you, the parent, to make sure they're not doing things they shouldn't. But where was this? The family room, not their bedroom. That way we also can control when and with whom. These days, a lot of people, parents, have allowed the gaming consoles to go into the bedrooms. Well, 5 kids go into the bedroom and play all at once, sitting on the bed. Younger kids, okay. Older kids, are you sure that's what they're doing? Set the rules. How long? We're going to talk about that. A day is, of course, 24 hours. So a little homework assignment, if you're interested in doing this, is write a 24-hour pie chart and write down a list with your child. You could be an example and then them of what do they do during the day for sleeping, meeting, exercise, outdoor time. Now that it's getting warmer, of course, we can do outdoor time. It's not 30 below in most places. How much time do they working on their schoolwork, their hobbies, and homework? Also, of course, how much time do they spend with their friends and family? Of course, socially distanced if necessary. Now, what's left over? After you figure out how many hours or minutes they do all of this, what's left over? Now we can put in maybe an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day, at least during the week, of computer gaming time. Because the rest of the day is already filled. So we need to take care of that. And in this time that's left, figure out what they can do. You have to set the example. Do you have these rules for yourself? Are you on your phone and tell them they can't be at the dinner table? What kind of example are you setting? Trust me, do as I say, not as I do, does not work these days with technology. Yeah, I've been talking for a while. I know. Been going for at least almost 45 minutes. But that is the biggest section. So let's talk about be safe. Now we're talking privacy information and be safe for yourself. Protect your privacy by using the privacy settings that we've already discussed. Why? All of these programs have privacy settings. Fortnite, another biggie. You click on the hamburger menu. That's what we call the 3 bars. And you can go into the settings, privacy, and set it to private. But remember, there's limits to privacy settings. For example, unless you're a lawyer, you probably did not read the entire Instagram conditions and terms for use. You said, yeah, well, yeah, I'll just say accept. Well, in one of these many lines of legalese, it says Instagram can use your pictures for any purpose they deem necessary, including advertising, and you can't do a thing about it. Yeah, you own the copyright, but use of the site guarantees that they can use it forever. Your child posts an embarrassing picture. Now, 10 years from now, Instagram may use that for their own purposes. They don't need permission. You gave it when you signed up for the site. This is why these sites are free. All of these sites that are free for one reason: to steal your information. In exchange for use of these free sites, you're giving up your privacy. Google is one of the worst offenders, along with Amazon. Amazon's system, when you're on their website, can scour your computer and find out where you've been searching to buy anything from other vendors. It'll search all those cookies. Google wants to know what you're searching because everything you have searched for ever linked to your account is in the Google brain. It knows how old you are. It knows if you're male or female. It knows what region you live in. Even if you don't tell it what region, it can tell by your IP address and can target ads accordingly. That's why it's, quote, free, because it knows what you're doing. In the old days, a story that went with this was typical family with a young teen daughter, not very closely monitored. One day in the actual snail mail, an ad for pregnancy tests shows up unsolicited. Why? Because she went to some site to do research for a pregnancy kit that sold the information to the vendors so they could send her advertisements. She may or may not have been pregnant, but she was Googling it. Therefore, she was a target for that advertising. That was 10 years ago. What do you think they're doing now? The free programs are not free. You give up your privacy to use them. So how do you protect your information? There's tons of things out there to try to steal your information. Items like poison search results, pop-up ads for free Apple iPad, fake social media posts, and interesting content like Fortnite cheat codes guaranteed to get you promoted and upgrades for free. How many of your kids who play Fortnite are going to click on that without thinking? All of these could take you to a hostile web page. All of these could then launch an immediate attack into your machine, get through your network because you've opened the connection to their server. Their poisoned results then start infecting your end user, your phone, your tablet, your PC. That's why you have to protect everything. And we have to be aware of why this is posted. We have to think, who benefits from this fake information? How many people are going to put their name, address, and phone number to get a free iPad? I like the one with Lady Gaga. It's like, it could say Lady Gaga found dead in a hotel room. How many people are going to click on that one? Another survey. Do any of your kids have their own cell phones? Simple answer, yes or no. What we have found is it kind of depends upon the age. The older they are, the more likely they are to have a cell phone.
There's two more options in there. Hit
What was that, Michael?
there's two more options, A, B, C, and D. So there you got not yet,
Sorry.
but and not for a few more years. There you go.
Not yet, but a few more years. I get so involved, I forget to click the button.
Yeah, I've done that many times.
Like I said, we've all done this. I've got it memorized. I'm not looking at notes. I'm often talking on the top of my head, the best kind of presentation.
All right, we got 100% in there. So
All right. So half of you said yes, they have a cell phone, and no said, the other half said no, we're not yet, but soon. What we typically find is around the teens, they start getting their cell phones. People ask, when should they get a cell phone? There is no correct answer. My definition is when they need it, when they become responsible enough to have one. As we're returning to work at office and work and school in person, it may become more necessary. Why? Because both parents working or a single parent works, there's nobody home. We're expecting our child to get home safely, so we want to call them at 3 o'clock and make sure they made it home. Of course, they may be at somebody else's home and you don't know it, but at least they answered the phone and said, yes, I'm home safe. Yeah, they may need a phone by then so that you can call them and make sure they got home. Or the bus broke down, I'm still stuck at school, come get me. I got in a fight after school, I'm injured, come get me. All the times I'm thinking that I needed a cell phone way back when, because when we grew up, we didn't have cell phones. Most of us still had the wired phone on the wall. Or maybe, depending upon your age, the wireless phone with the base station across the room. But it was still landline, it wasn't cell phone yet. So it kind of becomes, when do they have a need, is the answer. Protecting yourself. What do we mean? This is where we talk about the camera. About half of you said that you had teens and preteens, and a few older teens. It's very important that we teach our children not to use the camera for purposes that it was not, quote, designed for. And what we're talking about is selfies or inappropriate selfies. This does tend to attract and become more prevalent with teens and later teens, early teens and late teens. A little less for elementary school kids, but the threat is still there. They may become pressured by their peers to send somebody an inappropriate picture. Children need to learn, A, to resist that peer pressure, and B, there is no delete button on the internet. You may send, your child could send a picture to one friend. We don't know what that one friend is going to do with it. They could blast it out to the entire school email list. Vice versa, your child could be the subject and target of unsolicited inappropriate photos. You need to have a relationship with your child that's strong enough that they can come to you, A, if they feel pressured, or B, if they receive something that they shouldn't. Why? Obviously, it's a crime, either to distribute or receive or be in possession of. If your child receives an inappropriate picture or text, what should they do? They should be able to tell you about it, and you should be accepting of the condition that it's not their fault. Somebody else sent it to them. They didn't really have control over that. Delete it. Done. You're no longer in possession. Block the user. Block the phone number. They can't do that source phone number anymore. Other problems with pictures. Of course, we don't want your child sending it out either. Again, they could send it to a friend. That friend could send it to everyone. It gets circulated around the school. What I can't think of the word right now. I've been talking all day training. Humiliation, what humiliation would your child be in if that friend of a friend got that picture? We need to make sure that they do not feel pressured into having to deliver that. Anybody who's putting that kind of pressure on your child does not need to be their friend. I'm going to talk about that in a minute too, a few other things. Other problem with the camera. When you take a picture on the camera and post it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, depending upon the software and your camera and the phone, most of the time the camera in metadata of the picture, hidden data, posts the geotag of the location that you were, the time of day, and the type of phone that you were using. It's contained within the photograph, not visually there, but software can extract that metadata. Somebody can tell that you took this picture outside away from your hometown 3 hours ago. You're not at home. Aha, you took this halfway across the state. You're not at home. Guess what can happen? They know you're not at home. What happens? People break in. So the metadata contained within photos, again, exposes your privacy. So protect yourself, find the settings, and don't include metadata. Or don't post the picture until you're home. Because if you said, this is what we did last week, you're already home. They've missed that opportunity. So when your child is gaming with others, I tend to suggest that it should be in a public or semi-public area. The door needs to be left open. If they yell and scream, let them. They're kids. If it comes to blows, you'll know and you'll need to come separate them. But typically, gaming with others, not a big deal. My nephew, when he was in his teens, 4 people came over to his house. They were all 4 sitting in the same room facing the wall, away from each other. Hey, at least they were social distancing. None of them were looking at each other. They were all looking at their screens in opposite directions, but they were all playing the same game at the same time. These days, that may be socializing. Of course, all of these games also have people from all over the world that are playing. A lot of these have chat features. It's entirely possible your child could get inappropriate texts from somebody playing the game. Some of these programs actually have software now to try to prevent that from happening. There is what we used to call smut filters on a lot of these programs. to prevent anybody from asking, like, what's your address? What city do you live in? There are phrases now and multiple versions of the phrase that are in these filters that prevent predators or other people from trying to extract information from your children while playing these games. So let's be safe. Make sure they're aware of that. Be kind to others and to yourself. What do we mean? Start with kindness because it's the right thing to do and it reflects on you. We need to share this with your children and, of course, yourself. And respect others' feelings. What happens? They may reveal their privacy. They might reveal their family rules or values. You shouldn't. Try to avoid the confrontation. If somebody shares this, your child should not use this against them. Your child should be okay with time offline or the time allowed. If your child gets an hour a day, they need to feel comfortable with it. Are they going to go a minute over? Yeah, but I'm not going to make it a travesty just because they're a minute over. It's like, come on, it's time to stop. Okay, I'm just saying goodbye. So we need to be kind, remind ourselves to be kind, respect others' privacy, family values and rules, and also be kind to yourself. This is an important point that I love to point out. You are not equal to the number of likes you get on a post. You're not equal to the number of likes you get on a post. Don't let your child become a like collector. My suggestion is, being a parent of grown-up children now, it is much more important, I'm being old and wise now, it is much more important to have a good quality friend than 1,000 fake ones. How do you know the difference? In my old age, you go to your high school reunion. How many people do you sit down with and talk with? And in 30 minutes, you're completely caught up like you haven't not seen each other for 20 years. Or how many people do you sit down with and it's like, I don't remember you at all. Who are you? 20 years ago, they may have given you a like, but now they don't. You don't remember who they are. The important ones are the ones that still remember, that you still keep in touch with, that you can catch up with. The quality of the friend is much more important than the quantity. You are not equal to the number of likes that you get. You're much bigger than that. So we need to nurture kindness. We can be supportive. We can have our children be supportive of their friends that are feeling down. We can come to their defense. For you, you need to be prepared. Show them what kindness looks like. Like I said, the chapters get shorter as we go. So be savvy with good habits. Don't steal content. It's super easy to do. On the same token, how do you know what you see is real? Be savvy. It's very easy to see a copycat, and that's not the real thing. How do we know? Big term that's come about in the last couple of years, fake news. What's fake news? It's trying to get you to watch longer, trying to scare you. So pause and ask yourself a question before you act. Is it tragic that the number of COVID cases went down, but that's how it's been presented? Oh my God, 30 people got infected today. Yeah, but a year ago it was 3,000. But they're still talking about it. Why? They want to keep your attention. Why was it made? They want to keep you watching. Who made it? What's missing? The fact that it actually went down. Things are improving. How might different people interpret it? How do I know if it's true? That's a real hard one. Some people would say that the media gangs up presents the same fake story in multiple outlets, so you think it's more true because 10 different sources say the same thing. The problem is that they're all operating off the same press release. I used to work in news. That's how it works. You get a press release with an article, you spin it for your own, and it becomes news. Everybody uses the same story. We don't always call the source and verify that this is correct. We just run with it. But you can also ask yourself who would benefit from this message. I myself, looking at Facebook sometimes, which I rarely do, I only do because I have to. That's where all my friends are. But I can see the same sensational fake headline about a celebrity from 4 different websites presented in my feed with the same headline. But if I look at the sources, they're 4 different sources. But it's still not true. They're all trying to get me to click. They're baiting me. Who benefits? Somebody who gets a click from you. Who could be harmed by the message? Could somebody be harmed? So one of our sources that we talk about is NAML. Whoops. Come on. NAML and A Parent's Guide to Media Literacy. Source material for you, and your coordinator should have this link also, where you can find out how you can study, how you can learn these trends. But by asking those W questions, you might be able to resolve for yourself, is this true? Something else to be savvy about are encouraging good habits. Have you ever Googled yourself? I never had Googled myself until I started presenting this program several years ago. My last name is rather unique in the United States. There's very few Russicks in the United States. What happens when I looked it up? I found Ronald Russick, age 65, in Santa Clara, California. Also goes by Ron Russick. Wait, that's me. This isn't me. I am not in Santa Clara, California. I'm in Austin, Texas. Here's my cyber twin on a record search site. He's also older than me and born in the wrong month and has a different middle initial. But we have my cyber twin. Wow, I didn't know I had one. Sure enough. And then if you look at the bottom for included, who he's related to, I don't know who any of those people are. That's not me, that's my cyber twin. So, encouraging good habits. Here's a good one. When you go into Google, you can set alerts. You can set an alert for your name in any news article. That sets up a permanent search that sits in the Google brain, hopefully used for good, not evil, so that anytime a news article pops up with your quote name in it, you get an alert. I got an alert from my cyber twin. He was promoted to vice president of a medical appliance company. I wish I had that income of a vice president of a medical device company. They have all the money because we're all sick. So set up an alert for yourself. See if it's you or your cyber twin that shows up. At least that way, if somebody calls and says, are you this person who does this? You can say, nope, you have the wrong version of me. So set up your alerts. This one we've been doing for quite a while. I promise we're almost done. Thank you for staying. The Kaplan Institute has been doing surveys of colleges for a long time. Recently, the number is 65%. And we have another number, 58 and 42. The number 65 has been growing steadily over the years. Remember how I said there is no delete button on the internet? Well, the Kaplan Institute has been polling college administration officials for decades. One of the ones they started polling for was, do you look up and Google applicants? And if so, is that data admissible to be considered for their application? The number used to be 25%. Now it's up to 65% in about 6 years, maybe 5 years or less. It's been going up increasingly steady. Of that, asking the admission officers, how often did you find something negative on the people you searched? 58% of them said, yes, I found negative things that made me not consider them. 42% said we found positive things that made us want to consider them. There is no delete button on the internet. Remind your children, because we need to encourage good uses. There are many good things we can do on the internet. We never hear about them, except occasionally. We can learn new skills. We can promote causes. We can raise funds. We can showcase our accomplishments. If you showcase your accomplishment, great. Just don't showcase personal information. Said, yes, I came in first at the swim meet, but we don't need to know what city, town, and state. Or I made the statewide swim team. Yeah, you're in the state. How many of your name are in the state? Probably more than one. That's not really revealing a whole lot of personal information. But 5 years from now, when you apply to college and you're going to be on the swim team, do they want to know that you made the medal? Absolutely. You can showcase your accomplishments. Picture, maybe, above the waist. You can enter contests. Make sure they're legitimate. I mean, years ago, Publishers Clearinghouse used to send you mail for all of their contests. Now they make you go to their website. Well, people who have to automatically go to their website every single day to apply get a lot of entries. In the old days, it was sending in 100 postcards every day. So be online, be safe, be kind, and be savvy. Again, the subheadings under each of these to remind you. Final thoughts, shameless plug. It is free. We have trendmicro.com/internet safety. On this website, we have Cyber Academy. These items are specifically cartoon animated information programs for your children. We talk about passwords, two-factor authentication, privacy, security, healthy habits. Every module comes with a Kahoot quiz to see if you've learned anything. Activity sheet, conversation guides, animated videos. We also have more on the way, talking about, hey, camera safety, safety settings, kindness, screen time, and media literacy. How do we know it's true? So this is another free resource. You can use it at any time. Take your kids there, have them run the module, have them take the quiz. Final thoughts. I'm right on time for my normal pace. Keep it going. The one thing both Michael and I have learned in learning our security jobs is if we don't use a tool repeatedly, we forget how to use it. I've been certified in several different programs I haven't touched in years. I probably can't remember what I learned. Stay active, be vigilant. I know we've been overused that word. Communicate, share with your peers. We've got several people, over 10 people online today. Talk to each other, share your experiences, share your bumps in the road. There will be bumps. Your child will come to you. But what we want is them to be able to come to you without feeling that they're going to be punished because of what somebody else did. They need to feel safe that they can come to you. It's very difficult, but it can be done. So do one thing. If nothing else, put security on all your devices. So we come to the question portion of the presentation. There aren't any questions in QA, so won't go there. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. Somebody did mention that one of the sites is down, the tmfamily.care, and we have methods to get that, reach out to the right people and get that site looked into to try to get it open.
I did
back up and
already.
running.
I did already reach out to the team that handles it and let them know that it's down, so it'll be fixed as soon as possible. Thank you for letting us know, though.
So, any questions for either one of us? Like I said, we can't always answer every question because when a child gets a phone, I like to say is based upon need and regulated by maturity of handling it. If nobody has any questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up. I thank you for attending and giving me an hour and a half of your time on a Thursday evening towards the end of the week. I hope everybody is safe. You learned something, and please do fill out the survey because eventually I may hear any good or negative comments out of it. Michael, do you have anything to wrap up?
Nope. Like when you exit the Zoom meeting tonight, you should be prompted with a link to the survey. Like you said, please fill that out. We do benefit with that information. It helps us build this program out. Also, move on to the next slide real quick. When you do this presentation will also have some additional. This presentation will be shared with your coordinator as soon as we get everything along with the recording of this session. There are useful links at the end of this presentation for like right near our internet safety website. So feel free to go in there and look up anything. It's a really good resource. And then also on the end, you will see the link to the survey. So if you do not get the survey for whatever reason, it will be at the end of this presentation as well. So you feel free to fill it out. And that's pretty much it. Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.